Okay, perfect. We're on now. So how are you, man?
I'm good. So I'm just trying to find I'm trying to find a place to go. I'm gonna be honest. A little bit about me. My name is Robert. I've been in the Marine Corps since 2016 and I've loved every single minute of it, but I realized that I'm doing a very fun job, but I kind of more strive for the aviation part, and I actually want to get into flying, and I'm okay with hanging up my uniform. So I actually am trying to pursue into being like a commercial pilot. So one thing is for the last 7 years, I've actually been a firefighter in the Marine Corps.
Wow.
And so the ultimate goal, if it I kind of see myself like I like loving aviation and kind of like wanting to work for like a regional airline or a big commercial airline and
Yeah.
staying there. But like I had a 2 year, a 5 year, and 10 year plan. My 2 year plan is I still have about 9 to 10 months in the Marine Corps. So my 2 year plan is definitely finding a school, getting into the training, and diving all the way in. My 5 year plan is definitely kind of like building the hours, building all that kind of stuff, and getting into the kind of mindset of working for an actual company. And then the 7 year plan, if it hasn't changed, is actually be an aerial firefighter. And I actually have a couple. I have a mentor that is actually kind of I talk to him like at least once a month and he guides me into like what's the next steps and how it's going. But I think right now it's more of finding the school, finding the location that's best for me and actually using the best funds that are allocated. And that's just a little bit about me and
Okay.
what I'm looking for.
Let me unpack all of that. I had to start writing notes because I have so much to say about, and this is why I want to record it and throw it online. I've got so much to say about this stuff. First and foremost, thank you for your service
Thank
to
you.
our country. It's one of the biggest regrets of my life is not going into the military. I think I would have done well. I think the military it it uh, it gives you so much discipline and structure, and it really straightens a lot of people out.
Yes.
I think I got pretty straightened out to begin with in life, but the thing about it is, what really made me process and understand what people in the military do in terms of personal sacrifice was when I flew at the regionals. I started out in the turboprop Brasilia.
Mhm.
I've got my 3D model of it. That's this right here.
Oh wow.
This is the little turboprop that I started in 30
That's
passenger.
cool.
Uh when you're new, they put you on reserve and they kind of send you around the system. So I get sent to Denver and I went to God, I'm getting old. What was this? What the town I went to? It was like Cody, Wyoming. I want to say
Cody? Yeah.
middle of, I don't want to say middle of nowhere. I apologize to people in Cody, Wyoming that are watching this. You have a
Very small town.
you have a beautiful town. It's a lot smaller than the greater LA area of 18 million people.
Yeah.
We go to Cody in that turboprop at night, so we can't see the terrain. We go straight to the motel because I mean that's all they had back then. We're talking 20 something years ago, and I go straight to bed. There's nothing else to do. We got to get up at like 6 a.m. to go fly. We got another flight out. Last flight of the night in, first flight of the morning out. I wake up in the morning and waiting for the van to take us to the airport,
Mhm.
and I notice next to the hotel is all of these plaques and stones,
Mhm.
and I start reading them, and it's all the military service members that were killed in action throughout some of the wars that we've been through. And man, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was in the right place at the right time because I looked around at the most beautiful scenery in front of me, the most
Mhm.
pristine area of our country, and all I kept thinking about was the people who live in this town would never ever be in any danger if they had stayed here.
Mhm.
Yet they volunteered and they put themselves in harm's way. They said, I will make that sacrifice and I'll put myself in harm's way for our country. And I was like, who would do such a thing that they would leave the comfort and safety of their town and their home and go to a foreign land to protect our way of life? And that was the development of my thought process of what going into the military service meant. And I really, really started to appreciate that more. And that's when I was like, I wish I wouldn't have listened to my mom, where she's like, you're not going to go to, you're not going to war and all that. And
Yes.
she didn't know how it worked. Like, you're not
Yeah.
going to grab a gun and go fight. That's not how it works.
Exactly. Exactly.
But anyways, that really set the stage for me. And as I had people in the military on my planes throughout all the years, that image always stuck with me,
Yeah.
right? So I always made sure I shook their hands and showed a sign of respect. It was all I could really do. If we had a seat in first class, I'd be like, "Hey, come on up. That seat's yours," and stuff. So, anyways,
Definitely.
um, aerial firefighting. My first officer, my co-pilot from 2005. His name's Dale. He owns an aerial firefighting company now today.
Really?
Really. He
Wow.
owns the company. I can put you in touch with him and you can pick his brain.
Yes, please.
He is the nicest, kindest, gentle giant you've ever met in your life. He looks
Down on people. Yeah.
6'5", big hair, right? He's a musician, so he's got the big hair going, like all that kind of stuff. Dude, if I ever misjudged someone, it was him. When he showed up, I'm like, damn, this guy looked like he can kick my ass. And he was the most gentle person I ever met in my life. And to this day, he has been the kindest person I ever met. We talk from time to time, stay in touch, we're old buddies. I can definitely put you in touch with him. It never hurts to pick people's brain,
Yes.
stay in touch with them, because he has his own company and he does the hiring for his own company. And if as you develop and get your ratings and you stay in touch with him, he will see the type of person you are, which I've had instructors that worked for me that were military versus non-military. Man, when I hear military, I'm like, come on in. The military's already kicked your ass, and I don't have to do anything to teach you discipline or any of that. I don't have to worry
Yeah,
about that. I know what
exactly.
I'm going to get with you guys, and I love that. So I had a, a, a tank commander, a captain, uh,
Okay.
as my instructor. Abrams A1. What is it? Abrams tank.
A1 Abram? Yeah.
Um, Trevor Peterson, Captain Peterson. Um, he's now at Horizon flying he started out in the Q400. Now he's flying an E175.
Oh,
He
wow.
was offered a job at the majors at Frontier last year and he turned it down. He
Whoa.
flight instructed for my school for a year, went to Horizon, was there 9 months, and he got offered a job at the major airlines. 9 months. I put out these videos. I got all these people who are like, they get triggered because in the comments, like I'll read it and go, "You're lying. Nobody gets hired at the majors in like 6 months or a year." And I'm like, dude, my flight instructor
Yeah.
just
It's
happened
happening
to him, and
like
it's
right
happening to
now.
a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, I've been talking nonstop. What are your questions? What specific questions do you have um, about the training? Where do you live?
So right now I'm actually in Escondido, but I'm actually gonna move farther north, and I'm actually gonna be staying in Orange County,
Gotcha.
and that's where I'm actually gonna like once I get out, that's where my primary residence is actually gonna be inside of Orange County
Okay.
area.
And you're looking to do a traditional program of just pay as you go and take lessons and versus like an accelerated program.
I'm looking for either one. If I have to do a traditional one to where it's gonna take maybe 2 years and
Yeah.
everything, then I'm okay with that. But my
Okay.
plan is kind of like, I don't know. I don't I've always heard the qual rock run. I don't really like qualling or rocking. If I really understand it and I can actually just like come and grasp all the information. I actually just want to run. So I'm actually looking for more of an accelerated type of plan to where I can fast track everything.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm not saying that I'm old. I'm not. I'm like I turned 25 in a couple weeks. I'm very young, but it's that I've been doing the same thing for 7 years. So
You're ready.
I'm capped out in the Marine Corps. So I kind of want to go.
Gotcha. There's advantages and disadvantages to both types of training.
Okay.
I did the traditional training back. I started in the late 90s at this airport at John Wayne, and there was no accelerated program.
Okay.
I think ATP existed. They had one location. It was like in
Van Nuys.
Riverside. They're the big powerhouse with like accelerated training.
Yes, sir.
So I did the traditional way. It took me 2 years.
Okay.
I had to stop during 9/11. Obviously. We stopped training for like 3 months till we figured out what the heck was going on.
Yeah.
Um, so I did it in 2 years, and then I started flight instructing. There's definitely something to be said about taking your time and learning the material and you know going through it at your own pace. And there's something to be said now about the accelerated stuff. Back when the accelerated stuff really started to get popular back in 2015, 2016, I was a big I was really against it.
Okay.
I really looked down upon it. I'll tell you why. When I was a captain based in Chicago, um, I had a couple of first officers that um, lacked a lot of airmanship skills, and I just saw a lot of holes in their flying, a lot of holes in their ability. And I politely, without them knowing what I was doing, I said, "Hey, just casually. I mean, these are typical questions you guys talk about. I was like, where'd you do your training? Oh, I went here, this geographic location. I was here. I don't remember what he said.
Hmm.
And then I was like, oh, what school did you go to? And he told me, and it was a big academy.
Hmm.
And so I started to form an opinion based off what a couple guys were telling me. And so when I first started doing this flight school thing, I was very against the accelerated stuff
Yeah.
because of what I had seen as a captain with my first officers. You know, but I I eventually changed my mind because what I realized was you don't you don't have to be one or the other. You can
Hmm.
kind of be a hybrid of both. You can do an accelerated program, but if you do it at a place that's really trying to implement um, the right approach to training, where they're holding instructors accountable, they're making sure you really understand everything, they're holding you accountable. You're
Yes.
coming in and they're like, hey, did you read what I told you to read last night? Explain it to me. Show me. Prove it. Are you lying to me? Well, we get a lot of that kind of stuff. So,
Exactly.
okay, what don't you
Integrity.
understand? Let's talk about it. Like this, the support, going there, knowing it's there, and having help. That's very important. So, what I did with my school was I realized I have to offer an accelerated program because that's what consumers want. If you're not offering what consumers want, you're done. So
Exactly.
we started catering to that. And when we started it 3 years ago from scratch, I mean, we got a couple people. It's now accounts for 80% of our business, the
Wow.
accelerated program. And we do it in a hybrid way. We accelerate you, but we really try to hold you accountable and take our time and say, hey, let's do a ground lesson. Let's teach you this. And it's not this classroom setting, or we don't send you home with a DVD. That shows you how old I am. I still say DVD. Online streaming. We don't do that.
Yeah.
We have an instructor included in the program. It's one-on-one. Um, I think that the online programs really do a great job. I think that they're great. I think where people kind of misinterpret or go wrong is they think that those online programs are a replacement for the instructor. They should
Mm.
look at it more as a supplement to the instructor.
Okay.
Um, the problem is they're shelling out $300 and they're like, well, I already paid my 300. I'm not going to pay for instructor. I'm like, dude, that's not how it works. Like, that program's not going to replace what this guy does back here.
Yeah.
So the accelerator programs, um, it's all the rage. There's advantages to it. Disadvantages, they're there, but when you take a macro look at everything, in my opinion, everybody's got a different opinion. There's so many professionals at the airlines that will give you their advice. It's great advice, and I highly encourage you to listen to them. I'm just one opinion of many. In
Mhm.
a macro sense, if you look at the advantages and disadvantages now of an accelerated program, I think the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages of trying to go through quicker, because the name of the game is basically seniority.
Yes.
It dictates everything in your life going forward. And if you take an extra couple years to finish,
That's years that you couldn't have built inside of that profession rather than in the training.
let me go into, if you got the time, let me go into some detail, and your eyes are going to pop out when I give you some statistics.
Okay.
When you go to an airline, you start from day one, you get a seniority number, you get paid based on years of service. Year one, $100 an hour. Year two, $110 an hour, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
When you get to year 12, you're done. There ain't no more increases of pay. You're capped out. So let's say you're 30 years old and you have to retire at 65, which is the mandatory retirement age for pilots.
Mhm.
You got 35 years, right?
Mhm.
Years 1 through 12, you're going to go through this ladder of increasing pay. And so let me do my math. If you take 12 away from those 35 years, you got 23 years of service left for the airline, right?
Yes.
Regardless of whether you get a job in 2024 or you take your time and get it in 2026, you are going to be doing years 1 through 12.
Mhm.
The difference is if you take an extra 2 years to get your ratings, you just took away less years of top end pay that you would have had at the
Mhm.
airline. Having said that, top end pay at a major airline, they just signed contracts $454 an hour. That's a $500,000 job. That's two less years, right? Years 1 through 12 you're going to do, and then you got 23 years left of your career. That's 23 years of $500,000 a year pay. The extra 2 years you took, well, now you got 21 years of top end pay.
Yes.
You just lost $1 million of income over the course of your career.
Yes. That's yep. You're right.
A lot
It
of people
definitely, it
don't.
definitely was an eye popper.
A lot of people don't think of it in those terms.
That's
Um,
kind of that's kind of where I didn't really know the 12-year plan, but it was more of I'm looking more for like an accelerated plan because it would get me quicker into because I knew the 65 out of all the information and everything. So it's that I want to start as soon as possible so that I can get into the field as soon as possible.
yeah,
So where like I'm used to the rank structure, I'm used to the seniority and everything. That stuff I am okay with. It's more of the training and like the adaptability of the training and everything, which
yeah,
I think that personally I would want a fast track training.
yep, yep, yep. We offer that. Excuse me, the coffee's coming back up. We offer that, and it's a 7-month program.
Okay.
You can pick from two slots. You pick a morning slot, which is 8 to 10 a.m. Then you take a 30-minute break, and then you go from 10:30 to 12:30. We take our lunches from 12:30 to 1:30.
Okay.
And then if you want to do the afternoon slot, let's say you work in the mornings, you can go from 1:30 to 3:30. Then you take a 30-minute break and you go from 4 to 6. You can do that now that the days are getting longer. We're in coming up on March. When you go into winter, it's the schedule's a little bit more restrictive. You can't be out flying till 6 o'clock because you need to be able to see the horizon to
Yeah.
learn what we need to teach you. So we start a little bit earlier and stuff. It's a little bit more restricted, but it's basically a 4.5 hour commitment per day, 5 days a week.
Okay.
There's going to be times when you're going to be taking short breaks in the training, and that's you're waiting for your test to come up. Your check
Okay.
ride is what we call it. So like when we go through all the training, you finish, and now it's like, okay, we've got a check ride scheduled for you, and right now they're running 2 months behind. It's crazy, dude. It's so backed up. Examiners are not available for 2 months. We've got a good relationship with about 4 examiners that we use. So what we try to do is we try to time it so that we minimize the wait time for you. But the
Hmm.
thing is, in order for that to happen, you got to get all your boxes checked.
Yes.
You got to solo. You got to get the written test out of the way. That written test is important. That's a big deal. Um, and then that way, rather than sitting around waiting a couple months, when you finish your training, ideally you want to wait about a month, because what I do is 1 month out from your test, I go into check ride. Um, what's it called? I go into check ride prep mode. So
Hmm.
prep mode is like 4 weeks out. I start and I go, okay, let's do an assessment on him. Where's he at with his on a scale of 1 to 10? One is you suck. You should you shouldn't even look at yourself in the mirror. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
10 is you're a super stud rock star and you got this with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
All throughout training, we keep you at about a 5, because in order to keep you at a 10, you got to
Hmm.
we got to spend a lot of time and money on you consistently, a high amount of money, because flying is a skill that's rapidly diminishes if not practiced on a regular basis.
Hmm.
So we're not trying to waste your money and make you fly, 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 fly. We want to keep you at a 5, because at a 5, you're good enough to where you know what you're doing. You're not terrific at it, but you're good enough to move on to the next step. So when you get to the end of training, you're at about a 5. You're at
Hmm.
about a 6. And then our goal in the last 4 weeks, now we bump you up to a 10. And we can do that because we got 4 weeks. And week 4, we do an assessment. And then I say, okay, flight portion, ground portion, you need to go work on this on the flight portion. That's what the instructors. The ground portion, you're weak on this. You got plenty of time. Go study it at home. Stay here in the conference room, study it. Week 3, you come back. I do an assessment again. I go, okay, did you improve from week 4 on both your flying and your groundwork? And if the answer is no, I'm like, hey, you got 3 weeks to go. We
Yeah.
need to we
We'll do it
need
again.
you need to start cranking. This ain't no joke, dude. If I see improvement, I go, hey, nice job. Don't get relaxed. Stay on it. Keep going, going, going. Week 2, if I don't see you moving in the right direction, I pull you off the check ride.
Hmm.
That's a favor. That's not a threat. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
You should be thanking me
Yeah.
that I'm pulling you off, because when you go to the job fairs and you beg for a job at the majors or at the regionals, and you're like, hey, hire me, what do you think they're going to ask you? They're going to say, what check rides did you fail? How many times did you fail? What happened? You don't want to say I failed the check ride. You want to say, no, I never failed a check ride. I had a perfect record. And that's one less thing you have to worry about to overcome to convince them to hire you.
Yes.
So if I see that you're not demonstrating what it takes to pass, I'm not going to throw you into the fire. I'm like, hey, dude, you're not anywhere near what it takes to pass the check ride. I'm doing you a favor. You're off. If I were to have let you go in there knowing you're not going to fail, that tells the person, I don't really care about your training. I just want you to keep flying and take your money and just go, go, go. And come hell, I don't care what happens. So
Exactly.
that's important. Even if you don't come to my school, always remember that. If your instructor holds you accountable and tells you the truth, you know you got a good one. So 2 weeks out, we do that. And if you pass that, you're showing you can get to the finish line. I let you proceed. 1 week out, I'm like, all right, we're doing logbook review. We're making sure all your paperwork's in order. We're making sure we're going through a filter of fine tooth comb and making sure everything looks good. And you're flying like virtually every day, flying and doing ground every day. We're doing performance maneuvers, short field, soft field takeoffs and landings. We're really polishing you off.
Mhm.
That last bit of we get the polish off and we polish that chrome really good because we want you going in there um, and making a really good first impression. You want to know something? I've been offered a position as an examiner. I've really been encouraged by people in charge. I turned it down because of a conflict of interest. I'm going to put my jacket on because it's cold in my office. I turned it down because of a conflict of interest. I own the school, so it wouldn't look good. And
Yeah,
also, uh,
bias.
yeah, and because if I go past everybody, they're going to be like, "Oh, you're passing everyone because you own the school." But I don't have the time to be honest with you. It's a big time commitment. So you want to make a good first impression when you take your written test. If you're not scoring over a 90% on the practice test, don't take the test.
Mhm.
You got to score a 95 and up because when you walk into the check ride, first impressions are everything. I'm going to
Mhm.
tell you what the guy's thinking about, and he's not going to tell you. He's looking at you in terms of what are you wearing?
Mhm.
These guys are old school, dude. These guys, I've flown with these guys in the cockpit for a long time in jets before they were examiners. I'm buddy buddy with these guys, so I know their mentality. I know what they like to ask. I know how they think. Respect is a big deal to these guys, as
Yeah.
is in the Marine Corps. So that's why I like you guys. You guys get it. When you show up, if you're wearing flip flops, shorts, and a t-shirt, that's a sign of disrespect to the
Oh
examiner.
no, that's a sign of not caring. That's not professional.
A lot
That's
of kids
wasting
don't get
that's
it.
wasting my time.
That's a big deal. So that's a big first impression. You don't have to wear a suit, but wear some pants, wear a nice button down or polo, tuck it in,
I have a
wear
lot of business casual.
right,
Let's just say that.
right, be respectful, be polite,
Exactly.
shave, like look your part. That's a big deal. And then the second thing is right when you sit down, you get started, he's going to look at your written test results. If you pull out a 78, guess what he's thinking? Ah, this guy's a lazy ass. He didn't put
He
in,
is
he
studying.
didn't put the effort in, he ain't studying, and he's gonna form an opinion about you before things even get started. That's how the check ride's gonna start. So if you pull out the paper and it says 96%, 97%, he's gonna form a judgment about you and say, "Oh, dude, okay, yeah, all right, man, this guy might be the right stuff." And guess what? As the check ride goes along, if you show a 78%, he's formed an opinion about you. That opinion subconsciously is going to sway in his opinion about you. And if you start missing stuff, if you
Mhm.
go to the if you have a weak oral check ride, if you go to the flight test and you just weak, he's gonna be like, you know what, man? Um, I don't know why this thing says free. I upgraded. Oh, 1 second here. Says I have 10 minutes to go. I bought the upgrade yesterday. I don't know why it's saying this. We'll get
Yeah.
cut off in 10 minutes. So um, if it if everything's weak and he says come back, you just failed. You got a pink slip. You got a notice of disapproval. You don't want that. If
Mhm.
you got a 96% and you missed a couple of things here and there, he's gonna overlook it because
Exactly.
because you set a good impression. You show up, you're respectful, you show up, you showed a 96%. I had an instructor apply at my school about 3 weeks ago. He showed up, man. I'm telling you, dude, the first impression he gave me, he knocked my socks off. Polite, respectful, looked the part. I really went a long way. He had the one of the worst interviews I've ever had. Didn't know anything, bad knowledge, couldn't pass a private pilot check ride. You know what it did to him? I made an exception. I said, hey, go home, study, and why don't we give you another try in about 5 days? How does that sound? He goes, that sounds great to me. He came back in again, same stuff, interviewed, did a lot better, still wasn't where I wanted him to be. Guess what I did? I said, okay, my chief instructor is going to get in touch with you. Why did I give this kid so many chances? Because I saw the effort.
Hmm.
Can never ever teach effort. Somebody either has it or they don't. And this kid
Exactly.
had it. I've had the instructors and the students that we pull our hair out. We're like, care. Why don't you care? Why don't it's your life? Why don't you care about your own life? They don't care, man. And
I know
so
exactly what you're talking about.
what
I was a they call us EVOC instructors. I'm an emergency vehicle operation course instructor. So like I teach like Marines how to drive fire trucks, ambulances, and police trucks on I mean police cars on the base and everything. And there's just like so many that like they walk in and yeah, you're in uniform, but I can tell how you carry yourself. I'm training anybody from a private all the way up to a captain. I've trained officers. I've trained senior enlisted. You can be in for 6 months, or you can be in for 20 years.
wow.
You're gonna come across my desk, and there's just multiple times to where they just are like, oh, I'm just gonna get in, it's the same truck. I'm just gonna get in the truck and I'm just gonna try it. And they hit like 4 or 5 cones, and I'm like, what did you expect? This is you want me to sign off on your military license, and you can't you didn't show the part over there and you can't show the part here, so it's like where is the level that I'm supposed to respect for you because you can't give me the same respect.
That is
So I know
a big
exactly what you
advantage.
mean.
That is a big advantage. What you've experienced and what you have. What this is exactly the reason why I always say I like the military guys because you guys are low maintenance. You're easy, man. I don't have to like crack the whip. The
Oh yeah.
whip's already been cracked, man. Oh, good. All right. Uh, I go off into tangents with stories a lot. I hope you don't mind because
No problem.
I feel like a smart person learns from their mistakes. An even
Yeah.
smarter person learns from other people's mistakes. So my view to everything has always been if I can tell other people what mistakes I made and they learn from it, then this is my dog. I save them a bunch of I save them a lot of time and money that I spent screwing things up. I've never really cared about peer pressure and what people thought about me going back to high school. Like, when I would screw up, especially with this aviation stuff, I didn't care. I would just I would share that stuff with all my students and stuff. I noticed it's not common. A lot of people are ashamed of it. They're embarrassed. They're afraid of telling people stuff. I was never really afraid of it. I don't really care what other people think and stuff. So yeah. Sorry, but yeah. Okay, great. Um, any other questions?
So, a couple other questions. So we got the scheduling and everything. One major thing that, of course, is always in is a question because it's something that is a higher level of learning, but the funding and everything, the actual payment process and everything. So, I looked on your guys' website. I didn't see really anything about like the GI Bill. I don't know if you guys take it. I know you probably don't, and it would be like, where am I in that process?
Yeah. The one thing that I wish we could do is take the GI Bill. So let me tell you
Okay.
what we have to do to get a GI Bill. We got to go. There's two types of schools. There's Part 61 and there's Part 141 schools.
Yes.
We're Part 61. I
Okay.
was back in 2019. I was 9 months into certification of 141. I was $20,000 into the cost of converting to a 141 because the FAA has to come out. They have to go through a syllabus. It's a heck of a lot of hours in meetings with the FAA, fine tooth comb over syllabuses. Then they do conformity checks. They go out to your airplane and they tear that thing apart, trying to tell you like, hey, this doesn't cut the mustard. Fix this, do that. This 9 months in, COVID broke out,
Mm.
lockdown happened, and then I pulled out of the program because I didn't know where things were going. I didn't know I've been through 9/11. I've been through financial crisis in aviation, and in all those events, set the stuff back 5, 10 years. And I thought, here we go. Here's another 5, 10 years.
Yeah.
And the reason I pulled out was because 141 is very expensive to maintain that licensing. You have
Yeah.
to staff your front desk all the time with a person. I have to hire them. A lot of things have to happen, and it costs money for those things to happen. And when I said, well, money's about to stop coming in, the last thing I want to do is increase my cost structure, I pull out of the program.
Hmm.
Um, Big reason why I wanted to go into it was because schools don't tell you this, but you have to be 141 certified to apply for the authority to issue an I-20 student visa from people from overseas to come in. Why?
Hmm.
People from overseas, we can charge 120 grand for this training.
Hmm.
It's highly profitable. The people who are here domestically, the program's $87,995. So a lot of schools go do that, um, because it's more profitable. That's kind of why I wanted to do it too. But um, I pulled out because of COVID. And so
Hmm.
when actually going through the whole process, I learned that being 141 doesn't make the school great. It's it's a good instructor, um, good airplanes, and good ownership make a school great. You could go into a school that's 141 certified and say, I don't want to take your 141 program. I want to be 61. It's the same instructor. It's the same airplane. It's
Yeah.
it's just a check mark on a box that you all to do. I have to be a 141 school to apply for the GI Bill, and I'm
Okay.
not 141. Unfortunately, I wish I was, man. I get about 3 to 4 of you guys calling every week, and they're
Hmm.
like, "Hey, do you take the GI Bill?" And my head sinks, and I'm like, "No, I don't," because you guys in the military, like I said, it's easier to train you guys, and I'm missing out on the easy ones and stuff. But
Yeah.
when you find a school that is 141, that doesn't mean they take GI Bill. They have to apply through the VA to get approved for the program. So
Yes.
even then, the GI Bill does not cover your private pilot's license.
Yes. And that's actually kind of why I wanted to ask you is because they actually I actually talked to the education I have an education advisor at the education center on base, and they were saying that now it matters if you're a part 141 or part 61, but it's on a case by case basis. And I was like, so I like go to a school and just submit the paperwork? And they were saying it wouldn't hurt to try. Just do it. And it only takes 30 days to come back. They deny it, then they deny it. And that's kind of why I was like, hey, can you guys take the GI Bill? And I 100% know that even for flight instructor outside the private pilots, they'll never pay for the private pilot's license, and they'll only pay up to 60% of the rest. And
Right.
that's just how the GI Bill works because it's a training that is worth a lot of money. So it's basically now they're saying that they can pay only 25,000 every academy year type of thing, to where it's only gonna be a 7 month program, so they're only gonna allocate that much money. So I'm just trying to figure out how can I get everything else in order so that I can come in and just start from the ground running.
So our
Mm. Correct.
programs funded through Stratus, um, they pay for, I mean, they'll loan you the money for the training. You said I'm sorry, you said they're changing something with the GI Bill. They're now doing what? What were you saying?
So what I was told, this is why I like kind of go to multiple different things. Oh my God, you can't see me. But what I was told through the education center on base was that I can send a letter through the every single time you use the GI Bill, every single semester, you have to send a funding letter. It has to get approved. And they're saying that now it doesn't it has to be, yes, an accredited school, but any type of training that is for higher training and you can prove it on paper can go for anything. It just has to be approved. To where before some welding classes, like for like what she told me was some welding classes weren't approved because they were too outside, their training was too outside the realm that the Marine Corps offered. And then what they said was she actually had two of the Marines, when they came in, apply for the GI Bill and do it the way that she said. And they said that they've actually got the funds and they got the vocational actual funding letters. So I thought somebody would know, but I have no idea how to go there. I'm actually scheduled for a meeting on Tuesday with the education, I mean, not the education center, but somebody, an advisor at the VA education department, because I got 9 months. That's going to come pretty fast.
When you get out of that meeting, shoot me a text. You got me. You got my number.
Yes.
I'm very interested to find out if what you're talking about applies to 61, because if you look into the regulations on the VA on the website for VA, because I
Yes.
looked into it, because when I was getting 141 certified, I was like, I want to take the GI Bill.
Yes.
It talks about a bunch of stuff about vocational
Exactly.
training, blah 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 blah, and then there's a one special part at the bottom. It says flight training, and I clicked on it. It says
Mhm.
all flight training providers must be 141 certified to be accepted.
Exactly.
Find out if that still applies. Specifically say, does
Okay.
it? If I'm going with this exception that you're talking about, say, does the school still have to be 141 certified, or
Exactly.
can I go to a school that's 61? Because my school is 61, but I mean, we're a full blown, you know, operation. We've got our T's crossed and our I's dotted. I mean, we do a pretty good, knock on wood, we do a pretty good job. So
Yes.
find out, ask them, shoot me either way, shoot me a text, let me know, because I'm very curious about what they say.
Okay. I can definitely do that because this could possibly help both of us out.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay. And then so I guess the only thing is I don't mind personally. I think I'm just like we've been talking about. I like the qual walk run thing. I like running and everything. I have to have all my ducks in a row before I actually pull the trigger on something. And I will not necessarily back out, but I will, like as you said, COVID would happen, it would push 5 years. So you had to just make that ultimate decision and be like, I don't think this is for me right now. And what my like determining factor and going forward is basically if the GI Bill, because based on the schools that I've been talking to, the any type of thing outside of going to a traditional 4 year college, it's not going to happen if I talk to the VA and it's exactly like it is. If I'm not traveling to the East Coast and going to Embry-Riddle, or I'm not going to CAU for 3 years, or still paying $70,000 on top of what they're doing and taking 3 years extra, then I'm going to be stuck. My problem is there is the payment process if the GI Bill doesn't cover it.
Yeah. Um, I didn't have the money to go to Embry Riddle, and I was bummed at the time. Now I'm kind of glad I didn't have the money, because Embry Riddle is what, 40 grand a year plus
Yeah.
housing and books and stuff
Yes.
for your
At
degree.
the end of the day, in Brutal is going to be about $67,000 a year.
For your degree,
Yeah.
that's per year. You're going to
Yeah.
come out with a 4 year degree, and you're going to drop about 250K for the 4 year degree, when the airlines don't care what your degree is in.
I already have my degree. That's why
Perfect.
I really don't care.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. So that's not including flight training. Flight training, you can stack on another 150K for flight training. And if you don't believe me, all the people who are pissed off online at me saying that, go do your research and go contact every riddle people and find out how much cash they're dropping. Um, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So if you have already have your degree, The other option you have is I think Embry-Riddle has online programs, but again, you don't need the degree. You need the flight training portion. I don't I don't know how it works, to be honest with you. Um but anyways, you're not interested in going to the Embry-Riddle stuff
No,
anyways.
no.
So with us, if you're doing the accelerated program, if you're taking out a loan, then our lender pays us directly. You just pay the lender per month a fixed payment. You can
Okay.
defer payments for 2 years. You can pay interest only payments in the beginning. You really got to talk to them to decide what kind of program you want to set up. There's many different options to choose from. They've got 15 different options.
Oh
If
wow.
you are paying out of pocket and somehow GA gives you the money and lets you pay, then it's split up into 4 payments.
Okay.
And payment one is due at the start, and then the payments are due based on milestones of hours flown. So when you get to different hours flown, next payments are due, that type of thing.
Okay.
So if you go in the accelerator program, that's how the payments work. If you go into just a traditional program, you just pay as you go. You don't have to give money up front.
And how would long that would that be? And what would be the payment process of that?
So every time you come in, you pay per lesson. We charge $185 an hour for the airplane. We charge $75 an hour for the instructor. If you're paying cash, there's a 3% discount because we don't have to pay the merchant processor 3% to process the transaction. So we pass that
Mhm.
savings on to you.
Okay.
Uh, on the low end, you're going to spend about 16 grand for your private here at this airport. On the high end, you're going to spend about 20, and depending on what airport you do it at will have an effect on how much it's going to cost you. If you go to Oceanside Airport in the middle, no control tower, nothing going on, you're on the on you're probably going to get very close to the 16,000 number because there's nothing going on there, so you get stuff
Pinnacle.
done
I
faster.
went there.
Yeah. Huh?
A pinnacle? Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I don't. I think they're in Carlsbad.
Mhm.
There's Oceanside's an uncontrolled airport. There's no control tower. There's a skydiving operation out of there, and that's about it. So there's maybe like an independent instructor that you can get to do it out of there, but that's a whole different other discussion.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. And then how long would that program be?
Uh, if you're doing it 3 days a week, it takes about 4 to 6 months, and that includes the time that you're waiting for your check ride to come up. When we discussed that earlier, which is a couple months waiting, that includes it. That also includes a lot of cancellations for your lessons that you don't really hear about. You're going to get canceled on weather. You're in Escondido. You've seen all the rain we've been having in Southern California for
It's
the
still
past.
running right now.
We haven't flown like in the last 4 days, and it's supposed to be raining up until I think Wednesday. So that's going to cause delays. You're going to have mechanical delays. We can't predict when a tire is going to go flat. We do oil changes and spark plug cleanings and 100-hour inspections. We can't
Mhm.
we can't decide when an alternator is going to go bad. We have it stocked in our warehouse, but when you go to an airplane and they come back from a flight and say the battery died, the alternator went out, it takes us 4 or 5 hours to replace that part. And if your lessons during that time, you get canceled on.
Yes.
So all of those challenges go into that 4 to 6 month figure, basically.
Okay. And that's just for the private pilot's license, right?
If going about 3 days a week consistently, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I want to take a full like commercial like pilot program
Yeah,
and everything. So with that being a like a 4 to 6 month process just for the private pilot's license, I don't think that one's gonna, I mean, not necessarily not work, but I don't think that's the avenue that I'm gonna pick as like number one.
sure.
Um, there was the GI Bill, the scheduling, the funding. I already got the scheduling. So you said mornings and then nights or afternoons. Okay. I think that is all my questions.
All right, awesome, man. Well, uh, it's been a it's been great talking to you. I like it's refreshing to hear that you're an instructor and you do. I mean, we like that kind of stuff because
Yes.
we know it makes our job easier. So it's great. Thank you again for your service, and best of luck to you. Um, flight training right now is so in demand that whether you go with us or not, I'm going to have so many people walking in here.
Yeah.
So the why reason I say that is because I really wish you the best of luck, even if you don't go with us, because
Yes.
you're going to do well in this career. You have what it takes. You have the right stuff, and you're going to do very well. So I wish you the best success. And if you come here, we're looking forward to having you with us.
Thank you so much. I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
yeah. Let me know about what happens with the answer with the that person.
I will. I'll definitely shoot you a text.
All right, man. All right, Robert. Well, have a good weekend. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much. Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye bye.